These are the 15 best single-player VR games on the Meta Quest 3 that you have to play. So let's dive right into it. And starting it off on number 15, we have Skydance Behemoth. Now in this game, you will find yourself in the so-called cold forsaken lands, in which you will have to use your newly acquired cursed powers to take down your opponents. But while you are going through this big campaign mode, you will also have to face off with some gigantic boss monsters that each require a complete different strategy to defeat. And on top of that, the devs have also released a big free DLC update named the Asgards Wrath that add brand new game modes and trials to it if you want to get even more out of it. And on number 14 is Wanderer, the Fragments of Fate. And this one is trying to combine action and puzzle solving as well as some great storytelling all into one single game that transcends time. Because in it, you'll be teleported to different periods in history with each their own special gameplay elements and VR gimmicks to them. However, it is important to mention that it can still be quite buggy in some areas, and while that is nothing game breaking, it is still something to keep in mind. And on number 13, we have Metro Awakening, which is also directly the first time that an official game from the famous Metro franchise is made specifically for virtual reality. And just like with the other games in the series, this one will also take you through a dark story where you will be looking for your missing wife as well as the medication that she so desperately needs. But you will quickly find out that not everything is as it seems, and that there are things haunting you down in these underground subway tunnels. Just know though, that this one isn't for the faint of heart, because there are definitely some big jump scares that will even surprise some VR veterans. But talking about big franchises, we have also number 12, and that is Assassin's Creed Nexus. And this one actually translates so well into virtual reality that I just wish that other games such as Black Flag could also be played in the same way. Because not only do the graphics look surprisingly great on the Quest 3, the stealth, combat and parkour also feel like a great fit, even though it does require some getting used to and strong VR legs. Since if you don't have this, you might be getting motion sick quite quickly in here. Now, unlike their main titles though, you will instead be going through different segments of story, with each of them having you embody another iconic character. And together, these make a nice coherent experience that I sometimes just wish was a bit longer. But moving on, we have number 11, and that is Waltz of the Wizard. And this is also one of the most unique games that is on this list. Because while at first, it might just look like your standard spells and magic simulator, the big difference in here is your companion named Scully. Because this friendly talking head has over 1,000 voice lines and interactions, which are so broad that it almost feels like an actual person sometimes. I mean, even the gestures that you make or the directions that you're looking at can start triggering these, which makes it overall feel insanely immersive compared to most standard games. And on top of that, the gameplay is also very intuitive and satisfying, which makes you want to come back over and over again to just try out some new things. And on number 10, we got Arcane Age. Now this single player VR adventure is still a real hidden gem that has great combat and boss fights. But it is the range of loadouts that you can choose from that really make it special, because these can go all the way from range to melee combat and everything in between. And adding in the futuristic sci-fi worlds that is mixed in with some crazy nature, it really gives a great overall package that somehow is still one that flew under a lot of people's radar. And number 9 is Bone Lab, which is made by the same devs behind the hit PC VR game known as Boneworks. And similar to that one, Bone Lab also has the same realistic physics-based systems built into it. And that means that all the objects that you use will feel like they have some actual weight to them, which takes combat of course to another level. But while it has a very short but well-made story mode, the main reason that people like to replay this game, besides all the secrets and unlockable characters, is for the many different game modes and sandbox possibilities that you can unlock from within the main hub. And on number 8 is Into the Radius 2. Now, this is the sequel to an already great title, but this time with some updated graphics and even more customization options. Since besides the crazy settings and anomalies that you have to fight, what stands out the most in here is the highly detailed mechanics when it comes to your weapons. And this can go from cleaning out your barrels to even changing up every single piece on them so that it fits your own playstyle and tactics. So if deep customization is something you're looking for in a game, then this is it. And at number 7, we got Moss. Now, unlike pretty much any other VR game, this one is played from a third person's perspective. And in it, you will have to help out this little mouse named Quill by making yourself useful as a navigator and help with some puzzle solving along the way. And while this was actually a PlayStation VR exclusive for a long time, the original and the sequel are now finally available in the Quest headsets. But before we get to the last 6 must-play solo VR games that that you really don't want to miss. Let's first have a quick word from the company that made this video possible. Because none other than Cat VR, who are known for creating VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are once again taking virtual reality to the next level. Because while we are normally limited by the boundary system inside our VR experiences, it is Cat VR that has created these VR treadmills that let you run and jump without any limitation. And since their most recent version, which is known as the C2 Plus Enhanced, is compatible with every VR headset that you can think of, it is also often considered as the dream upgrade for any VR user. And they even go so far that it has things like haptic feedback built into it, as well as a vehicle hub, which will make it feel even more realistic when you're racing on a track or flying through the sky. And as a cherry on top, you can also use the code VRelity for a whopping $130 off on your entire purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. And on number 6, we have Batman Arkham Shadow. And as you might already know, this game actually came included with a lot of Quest headsets in the past. So you might even already have it sitting in your library. And in it, besides just embodying none other than Batman himself, you will also be tasked to save Gotham City once again from the mysterious threat of the Rat King. Although, the combat in here is quite different and uses a new satisfying hitbox mechanic that kind of feels like you're playing inside of a cartoon. And while on the topic of some big names, we also have number 5, which is Resident Evil 4 VR. And yes, this is a full-on port of the iconic original game, but then with overall graphics and VR input. But while the original flat-screen version was already quite scary for the time, playing it in first person is a whole other experience. So even if you have played it before or not, it still feels like an entire new game, especially with all the free extra game modes, challenges, and unlockables that they have added over the years. And on number 4 is Dungeons of Eternity. Now this is probably best described as a hardcore dungeon crawler with endless replayability, because in it, every run has completely new levels, loot, and enemies for you to fight. And that also means that you will quickly have to adapt and change your strategy on the go to be able to survive. However, while it is possible to play this one in co-op, I highly recommend you to try it out in single player first and see how far you can get. And on number 3 is The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. And this is definitely one of the most famous and must-play solo VR games, because not only does it have a huge campaign mode with some highly realistic interactions, it also has gotten a special Quest 3 update, which increases the quality massively compared to the previous standalone release. So, if you somehow have not played this one, then there isn't a better time to give it a shot. However, it is also good to know that it has a sequel, but this one still feels very inferior to the original. But that is not the case for our second place, which is Asgards Wrath 2. Since this is by far the most massive semi-open world game that you can play on your VR headset, since the base story alone can already easily eat up over 100 hours in gameplay, and even more if you're also looking to do all the side missions. So, while it will take you some time before you see those end credits, you luckily don't need to have played the prequel, which is a PC VR exclusive, since they built in a quite handy recap at the beginning to catch you up with everything that you've missed. The only downside though is that this game takes up quite a lot of storage, so you might have to uninstall some applications to even be able to download it. But that gets us to number 1, which is none other than Blade and Sorcery Nomad. And yes, this is in my opinion the must-have VR title for anyone that has a Quest headset in general. And even though it originally came out years ago, over time it has gotten so many new free content updates and overhauls, even until this date. And these have changed the game completely. So, if you love a medieval setting where you can wield magic and brawl it out with anything that you can think of, then you can't go wrong with this. But that is not all, because there are also some even more realistic VR games that you need to know about and that you have to play. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out on that. And of course, stay awesome.